Good afternoon, this is Matthew Lindsay with Precision Home Group. We are coming to you live today with our special guest Amanda from Real Property Management here in Anchorage. Thanks for coming on today, we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, why don't you let everyone know what it is that you do at Real Property Management before we get started?
Yeah, so a little bit about my background. I've been with Real Property Management for over 2 years now. I worked in the leasing department for about a year, so I worked with tenants, marketing properties, thoroughly screening, and going through leases, federal housing laws, things of that nature for about a year. And for the past year now, I've had the privilege of working with owners who own the investment properties and need someone to help them manage.
That's awesome. So kind of that flip from tenant to owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's an entirely different world too, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
You know, so different people you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what got you into property management? Were you working property management before you started with RPM?
I was not.
Okay.
No, I have a very strong banking background. I've been in banking.
Okay.
I was in banking for about 8 years. I've always had an interest in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I wanted to go on the sales side originally, but
Gotcha.
I jumped right into property management and I fell in love with it. So.
Okay. Was that, did you just meet Eric and Cass, and that's kind of what brought you in?
Yep, and I'm fortunate enough to work with the best in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you don't know, we had Eric on a couple weeks ago. He and Cass own Real Property Management. Great people, love having them on, love just spending time with them. So what's the best part about your job now that you're working with the landlords, the people who actually own the properties, the investors?
That's a good question. I love working with the owners. I love helping them. I think that's the biggest and the best benefit of my job is helping people out of situations, because we work with seasoned investors.
Mm-hmm.
We also work with what we call accidental landlords. That's individuals who can't sell their properties right away. And so giving
Makes
them an
sense.
alternative, maintaining their property, which is the most important thing to do before they can sell it again in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's great. So that's the best part of your job, working with those, you know, working with people and helping them, serving them, being there for them, taking care of the properties. What's the worst part?
I would have to say the hardest part is running into situations where someone's had a property for a number of years and not being able to help them, giving them the truth about the property, you know, cash flows, they may not be making money on the property.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest part. It's not always a win-win situation.
Gotcha. So just kind of handling the neglect of some properties, whether that's intentional or not.
Yeah.
We see that a lot of times with people who may be out of state and just don't even worry about it.
That's very common, and more times than not, it's unintentional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have their eyes on the property. They're not driving by them or doing mid-lease inspections,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be something as simple as also not screening your tenants properly.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is.
That's huge.
It's the 9 out of 10 problems associated with any property. I can't stress that enough. Is where you're going to deter a lot of that activity. So.
Exactly. So today, one of the big things I wanted to dive into is, you know, there's a lot of talk about, you know, from the sales side of things, from the real purchasing or selling the real estate investment, right? But once you're into that, you know, you hear little bits of pieces here and there about what's the vacancy rate, what's going on, how to properly go through and get tenants and all that kind of stuff. So what are you seeing going on today in the rental market?
Yeah, good question. So last year you were seeing properties in the summertime rent out on average between about 25 days in the summertime, 29 in the winter.
Wow.
The awesome news about this summer is we're seeing them rent in under 20 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're having a vacant unit and it's filled within 20 days.
Mm-hmm. Yep. On
That's
average,
amazing.
if you're at market rent.
Okay. And that's a big catch there.
It is.
Market rent.
It is.
Because some people are like, you know, they're pulling their numbers from inaccurate sources, and you know, if the fair market rent's $1,200 and they got it for $1,400, they're not going to lease that in 20 days, right?
Right, and that's something to keep in mind too, is a lot of times when you're doing research online and you're looking at comparables in your neighborhood or general size, same sizes, those are asking prices. It's always important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, so Craigslist, you know, I talked to so many, you know, people who have the fourplexes or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I get all my prices from Craigslist, but what you're saying is those aren't the actual prices that they closed on.
Yeah, those are asking prices, and 9 times out of 10, that's probably not the price they got either. And it's also important to keep in mind in terms of rental properties, you can get unqualified tenants when you're under market value, as well as when you're above market value.
Okay. So we were talking before, and you're talking about the vacancy rates. Where do you see that now?
It's staying pretty consistent from last year, you know, and census is still showing that there's a housing shortage. So there's tenants out there for your properties.
Okay, and we were talking about 5?
Yep, about 5%.
Okay, so I mean, it's gonna be a little bit different where you are, you know, but that's kinda a good average for Anchorage.
Yep.
Okay, so what are some new changes you see coming up in the industry? You know, we like asking everyone who comes on, you know, real estate is an old industry. You know, one of the oldest, and there's so many different sectors. So like in property management itself, do you see any changes taking place now or in the foreseeable future?
You know, in the couple years that I've been in property management, I mean, I've only been with this one company, but I have seen changes in the way properties are handled.
Okay.
And what is deemed acceptable property management. I think that's the biggest thing, is you can't consistently not take care of your properties anymore. You can't allow it to get to a point of significant amount of deferred maintenance before you're running into a problem of not being able to fill your properties.
Exactly. You know, and you know, one of the ideas that I had about that is the education aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, you guys are always teaching, you guys are always educating. You have a whole division, just the Landlords Almanac. If you guys don't know about that, they got an event coming up here, July 12th.
July 12th.
July 12th. And that's going to be at the Megan Room? It's
going to be at the Megan's Room, 6:30. We're going to be talking about commercial investments.
So they're always educating people on how to properly run properties, connecting them. It's a big networking event, right? With industry people, investors, salespeople, lending, you name it. You know, whatever part of the industry you're trying to get into or want more information on, you bet you can find someone there. So I feel that like because Eric and Cass and you guys over at RPM have been able to bring that to the table, and there's been this switch on education and information, you know, people are actually responding and being able to take the correct actions. So I think that's been huge, especially for Anchorage.
Yeah, I love getting the opportunity to work with investors before they actually purchase their first property. We can talk about the pros and cons that we see associated with each property that they're looking at, so they're going in with their eyes wide open.
Exactly, because there's so many things that are missed, or people, you know, looking at wrong numbers, wrong information. They just want the title, hey, I'm an investor, things like that.
And there's phantom costs associated with every single property.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to fluctuate on how you manage the property and things like that.
So you know, what's the single most important takeaway today? What's like one thing that you want people to know about?
And so we do host those educational events. We love talking with investors before they even purchase a property. So if you're in the market for one, we'd love the opportunity to talk to you about it. We do have those classes every single month, so they're more than welcome to come. And maintaining properties is the single most important thing for maintaining your property.
I wholeheartedly agree. So again, we'd love for you guys to be there at the event, the Landlords Almanac. They have their own Facebook page. You can go find it. Just type in Landlords Almanac, right?
Yeah, Landlords Almanac.
So go find it. They have events all the time. Great for networking, great for education, great for, you know, connecting with people. Whether you're looking to find an agent, whether you're looking to find someone in the lending field, whether that's traditional or not. I mean, there's hard money lenders. There's people there, you know, maybe you're trying to do a flip or something, and you know, so there's so many different options there, and so many different vast variety of people there with experience or beginning.
Yeah, and if you're already a landlord as well, there's quite a few vendors there to pick from.
Yeah, I mean, everything from bed bugs to inspectors.
Yep.
So you name it, they're there. You should be there too. So thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for
coming on down, and we'll check back with you guys here tomorrow.